Hey everybody, I wanted to give you some information about the UDL lesson plan that is coming up in Module 6. So I'm going to open up the three documents that are in Module 6 for the lesson plan and we'll walk through those. I'm going to walk through the middle one first, the K-TIP Source of Evidence lesson plan. This one right here is the one that you'll find in every single lesson plan we do in this course. And it just has the basic information that's used when you do a K-TIP lesson plan. So remember from the last lesson plan we did, this information that I've included in red, green, and blue is just additional information to remind you there are other resources out there, and here are some basic disability categories and situations that might arise in the classroom for which we would need to accommodate. So this will be especially helpful as you're working on this lesson plan coming up. Know that, of course, not every section here is going to be necessary. Like, we don't know how many students, because we don't, all of you don't have a real classroom that you're teaching in, but you will be choosing what grade level that you're using for this lesson plan, the content area, and then what this unit might be called and what this lesson would be called if you were actually teaching it. And then to the best of your ability, you'll be saying, here's the kind of information that I would be teaching in this lesson. Excuse me. So the K-TIP lesson plan is here and available for you. However, for this assignment, the real purpose of this is to support you if you were co-teaching or collaborating with a teacher in the general education classroom. So to give you an example of what that would look like, in my teaching career, I quite often had students in my classroom that were there most of the day, but they would spend part of their day in the general education classroom. And a teacher, say a third grade teacher, would come to me and say, I really don't know what to do with Danny and Ray during social studies. It just doesn't seem like they're engaged in the activities. They're not doing well in the assessments. Can you help me? And then I would say, sure, let me look at your lesson plans and I can make some suggestions. And what I was doing was a UDL analysis to make sure that her classroom was accessible not only for the students that I was working with and supporting, but also all the students in her classroom. And that's what you're doing here. You're doing a basic universal design for learning analysis and saying, given this lesson plan I'm looking at, what else can I do to make it more accessible for all the students in the classroom? So given that background, you've got two documents. One is a scoring guide, and one is an assignment description that walks you through the basics of what UDL is and what I'm looking for specifically in this lesson plan. So in this first lesson plan, I'd like you to focus on self-help skills, and that will allow you to dig better into some of the books that we have for this class. You can use a lesson plan that you've already created. So if you're in 730 and you're already teaching in a classroom, by all means, use a lesson plan you've already created, or a lesson plan that you found online that you think, hey, this lesson plan really lends itself to some great stuff. This lesson does not have to focus on self-help skills. This lesson could be a science lesson for third grade on the water cycle, but within that lesson plan, you're going to be looking for ways to increase a student's self-help skills. So for example, in the example I gave with Danny and Ray, what Danny and Ray were doing was what we call learned helplessness. They were walking in the classroom, sitting down, and then not getting out their books. They didn't have paper and pencil ready. They didn't choose to participate in any way unless the teacher specifically called on them. If the teacher walked over and said, write down an answer, they would say, I don't have a pencil. The teacher would give them a pencil. It's not sharp. I don't know where to write. I can't spell it. So we want to eliminate those skills of learned helplessness and instead increase their self-help skills. So you can focus on that level of self-help. You can also focus on the deeper self-help that might come for students with more significant disabilities. Because this is a little bit more detailed assignment, if you've already got a collaborating teacher that you're working with or a partner in this class that you've developed a friendship with, you're welcome to create this lesson plan together, or you can work independently. It's completely up to you. If you work with a partner, though, I would like you to indicate on the scoring guide which sections you worked on. And if you did each section together, just indicate that with initials. We did all these together. Sometimes when I do work with a partner, I do part, they do part. So if you divide it that way, let me know that. You will each need to individually upload your assignment just like you would any other assignment that you do. And at the top of that assignment, you'll need to note, I created this with, and include that person's names. So when we're looking at UDL, we are focusing on these three areas: how I teach as a teacher, what students are doing to learn, and how students are assessed. And all three of these ways need to be done in multiple ways. So often when we're looking at even a really good lesson plan, we're seeing that the teacher teaches the content one way. She comes up to the board and demonstrates. The students engage in learning by doing practice problems, and they are assessed by doing more problems. And we want to change that dynamic of teaching. So UDL looks at multiple ways that I am teaching, multiple ways students are engaged, and multiple ways that students are being assessed. We want you to think about lots of choices, and the best way for a lot of us to think about that is thinking about centers, but centers that in which they have a choice. So they don't have to go to all four centers. They might engage in center 1 throughout the entire period or go to centers 1 and 4. But centers with a choice is the important part for UDL. And we want to think about increasing our use of tech. This class is all about tech, so it's all about the tech, for those of you who like a good song. Think about how things we've already talked about in this class, like educreation. We've talked about Glogster and Nearpod. You can look at apps like Toontastic, MobyMax, BrainPop, anything that you can use to increase students' participation in class. In your teaching, I want you to also think about what I call magic and mystery, activating that prior knowledge, increasing students' desire to learn, that why of learning. All these things need to be in the lesson plan. So as you're looking through and thinking, okay, what can I change in this lesson plan? Sometimes it's in the mystery and magic. You just jump right in instead of really intriguing students and encouraging them to participate. So I'm thinking about a bunch of items in a box that you pull out and say, what do these items have in common? Or showing a quick video that's problem solving in nature. Using some kind of a graphic organizer that pulls together your class's love of SpongeBob with a current math concept. You want to think about students' choices, and the best way that I found to do that is thinking about multiple intelligences theory. So offering students lots of choices in music and movement, nature, coordinating things and connecting them to the universe, letting students read and think about it, talk about it with a peer, draw it, act it out, play a game. If you have these areas in your lesson plan as choices for those center activities, then you know that you're connecting students in multiple ways. And then thinking about those same kind of choices in your assessment. A lot of times for assessment, I would let students engage in these same activities in a deeper way or in a slightly different way. If they were really, connected to movement, then maybe they learned through movement, and then their assessment at the end was creating this manipulative universe and then taking a picture of that so that I could assess their knowledge. This guiding document has great information, the same thing that's in the lesson plan template that just reminds you of the ways that students might need support, and reminds you that you need to use the UDL Analysis Scoring Guide. That is the third document we're going to look at. All right, so this UDL Analysis and Scoring Guide will walk you through everything that's required in this lesson plan and how to earn all the points. So here at the very top, I would like you to include my name and, if you choose, my partner's name. If you don't have a partner, then obviously you're just going to put your name up there. Move it to the left so I see that. All right. Then we're going to come into section 1, which gives points for your name. So my name is Laura Clark. And the original author of the lesson plan, I created the lesson plan, or I could say I got this lesson from www.teacherspayteachers.com. And if I know exactly who the lesson plan author was, Laura Chandler created the lesson for this website. Okay, so whatever you know about the lesson plan, if you didn't create it, then where it came from. All right, lesson plan has a clear learning target. I'm going to say that my lesson plan is about the water cycle and clear tie to the Common Core. I'm going to go to the Common Core and pull that principle and insert here. Make sure you actually insert it before you turn it in. If I do all those things, then I've automatically earned 3 points, and I'm going to put 3 out of 3 here because that's how many I should earn. Make sure you fill in how many points you believe you earned. Section 2, see, I'm already done with the section, we're flying along, is looking at my role as a teacher. What do I do? So are there multiple ways that I am teaching content? Yes, I'm going to use a video, I'm going to use modeling, and I'm going to use students to solve problems, and I'm going to use some manipulatives to demonstrate. Use a variety of technology. Oh, yep, I'm going to show that video on YouTube, and I'm going to list the video, give my URL. I am going to use EduCreations to model part of my lesson. My lesson includes magic and mystery. Yeah, my video is really cool, and the students are really going to enjoy that. Lesson activates prior knowledge. I think I should add a graphic organizer about what students know. So I'm going to go pull that now and insert at end, of this lesson plan, and I'm going to go back up here multiple ways. I forgot to add a graphic organizer, would be good. And you might note, hey, there's already a graphic organizer in this lesson plan already included. It doesn't have to be something you add every time. Lesson addresses students' desire to learn, given the why of learning. We're going to discuss how water affects us all. Well, I cannot spell today, but water affects all living creatures. Ask students to talk about how they use water. So that's my connection to their desire to learn. And I'm going to meet the students' needs of how to move and entice with nature, play it in a game. So I'm going to look at these needs. Can I meet the sensory needs of a student? Yep, I'm going to meet the sensory needs of a student by modifying the graphic organizer with large grip pencils. Oh, I can meet the physical needs of students by looking at room arrangement for space for Dan's wheelchair, if that's a case. If this isn't an issue with your students, you already have a class and you know it's not an issue, then you can say all of my students are able to get around the classroom. If you are in 530, I would go ahead and really think about, based on the situations in the prior handout, okay, here's learning needs of students, here's some things I could do in this lesson, because you never know on any given day that a new student might be in your classroom. As you continue down section 3, now you're looking at students' choices and realize that some of these things are repeated from before. Are students using technology? Yes, I'm going to actually have each student use their iPad with EduCreations, and then they also are going to have the choice of a web game that they could play or an app that they could play. Make sure you list the web or the app game. Then students can choose to engage. This is my reminder. Is it a choice or am I forcing them to do every activity? And yes, I remember I want my students to have a choice. And are my learning activities scaffolded? Here's how I'm going to scaffold. I'm going to scaffold by providing a reader for text above grade level. And I should really have mentioned that above. Boy, I better go back up here to learning needs. Modify text to meet needs of students' reading level. All right, and when I looked at my lesson plan, I noticed that in the assessment right now, it has multiple choice questions, and those questions are not easily read. So modify reading level of multiple choice test and give students option to take MC test, record what they've learned in EduCreations, or create a collage of the water cycle. All All right, so now I've got choices in their assess in their learning for today.